Hi, everyone. My name is Erin Elizabeth Wamberg. Thank you so much for choosing to be here with me today. I just want to give a slight warning. My hair might get lost in the virtual reality sauce today. So if it does, just bear with me. But today, I'm going to be talking about frustration. And what does it have to teach us? All of our emotions are just guides to help us along this journey called life. And that includes even some more of our negative frustrations, our negative emotions. And so even if we're feeling frustrated or feeling upset, there's something that is trying to be communicated to us from our soul, from our higher power, from our higher self. And so listening to those emotions is really key. And so when we think about frustration basically means we've hit a limit. We've hit a wall and we're pushing our energy in a place that it can't flow anymore. So we can feel on some level of our body that we can't move forward or do anything, but we're still trying to continue to make something happen. And so when we feel frustrated, we need to do something differently. That's basically what's happening. The moment we feel frustrated, the moment we feel like, just that, I'm so upset, that's when we need to do something differently. So there isn't a one size fits all, just like with anything. But a few things you can try when you're frustrated. You'll either need to try a new approach to what you're doing. You'll either need to take a break, or you'll need to pull your energy back completely and maybe not engage with that thing anymore. So depending on which one it is, you might have to do different things. So trying a new approach, this could just be if you are just so frustrated, you've been working on this certain thing for a really long time and just nothing seems to be coming together. It's like more problem solving and it's not working this way. You're just forcing. It's just not working. Then you can try a different way, think of it in a different way. So this could be if you still are staying with it energetically and you're just trying a different approach. This, of course, like everything, can be applied to any area. So it can be conflict with someone else. It could be problem solving. It could be figuring out how to meet a goal of yours. It could be trying to work through something. So all of this can apply to anything. But when you're trying a new approach, you really want to remember and think, okay, if I hit a block and it's not working, then I need to try something different. And, there is a difference between feeling frustrated because we are not being patient. And I made a YouTube video about that a few years ago, so it's linked below if you want to watch that one. But there is a difference between being frustrated, just coming from a place of not being able to be patient, and then something of being frustrated that like it's just not working. And so I'm talking about the frustration today that like it's just not working and I don't know what to do. So one thing you can do is try a different approach for how you're going about it. If you feel stuck about brainstorming new ways, you can always pray, you can always ask, you can say, please guide me to the right and perfect solution. Please show me a new way of doing this. Please show me a new way to think about this. Please guide me to the right thing. So you can pray about it, of course, but just maybe sometimes we need a new approach to be able to solve the problem. Second thing that maybe we need to do differently is just taking a break. There have been many times when I've been working on something or trying to find a solution to something, and I just like, you look at it so long, you think about it so much that you just can't make any progress. And so maybe you go out and you take a walk, or maybe you take a bath, or maybe you just talk to your friend, maybe you make dinner, you do something to just kind of not put all that focused energy, like I'm hitting a wall so hard and I just want it to work. You're going to take your energy out and put it on something else so that it can kind of clear up the energy and maybe create a space for you to be able to find the solution, to be able to know what you need to be doing. So taking a break from it, doing something else, putting your energy somewhere else for a little bit can be very helpful. And then the third thing we can do is pulling our energy back. So this one can be a little bit, all three of those obviously are all connected. Obviously they all don't just live in isolation of themselves, but when we are pulling our energy back, sometimes we can be resistant to this one because the ego really wants to get it done. The ego really wants to be right. The ego really wants to make a way to make it happen. And so this, like, I can't stop right now because then I'll lose my momentum. I'll lose this, I'll do. And there's a difference. We've all felt the difference of being in the flow of something and something just moves through us. And it's really, in that moment we're flowing and we're connected to our higher selves and we're just channeling something versus when we're working on something and it feels like the end of the world. We just cannot make progress with it. So sometimes if we're resistant to pulling our energy back, to taking a break, to trying a new approach, our ego is so focused on making it happen because we want to be right, or we are very, very hooked into like the end thing, the thing that's going to come once I do this thing. So for example, if I know, I'm trying to get my website coded correctly, because then my website will be done and then I will have all the customers in the world and then everything will be amazing. So if I am just trying to push it so hard because I'm so connected to that angle, then sometimes I can get frustrated and lost in trying to make it happen, because I'm more focused on getting that thing instead of just taking a moment to be reflective and take time for myself and then be like, okay, I know I'm going to get there. I know I'm going to get it done. So I don't need to force it so hard right now. Also, sometimes we can get really frustrated. We can have a lot of frustration when we're trying to control something or make something happen with something that we can't actually control. Okay, so this can happen a lot with people, especially. So for example, if you are trying to get someone to see your point, if you're trying to get someone to change their mind, if you're trying to get someone to act a certain way to make you think it will make you feel better, that's when we can get really frustrated, because we think, okay, well, if only they would do this, this, and this, then I'll feel better. And you try and push them and push them and push them to act or be or exist as a certain way because you think that's gonna make you feel better. But the truth is, of course, we can't control anyone or anything outside of us. We can only control our own energy. We're only responsible for ourselves. And so the more we try to make someone else act in a certain way, the more frustrated we're gonna get, because our soul knows that that is our limit. Our soul knows we cannot control people outside of us, no matter how hard we try, how much we want to, how anything. And so, sometimes that can happen where we're trying to control other people. Sometimes that can happen if, let's say you're trying to lose weight, or you're trying to hit a certain mile marker on running or something like this. And, our body is just going to take the time it's going to take, even if we're putting all the work in, even if we're doing everything that we need to be doing. Sometimes it just takes a little bit of time, longer than our ego wants, because our ego always wants, instant gratification. And so if we're trying to control something we can't control, besides just saying, okay, I'm controlling myself and I'm going to let that be enough. If we keep trying to control something else that we can't control, that's going to also add to our frustration, because we've put our power, our personal power, onto that thing. We say it has to be, exist, look a certain way for me to feel like I'm in control of my life. And that's not true. The ego really wants to believe that, but it's not true. And so when we're so caught up in controlling something, trying to control something we can't control, we can't have any freedom or any guidance or anything to help us get clear in ourselves of how can I actually be showing up for myself in a way that's helpful? How can I actually be doing something that is contributing to my growth, instead of, well, I should have healed by now, or I should have had this thing accomplished by now, or I should have had this by now, instead of just realizing, like, am I doing everything I can be doing? Yes. Okay. Then just take a moment, take a breath, take some time back for yourself to remember and recognize we can't control anything outside of us, but the ego wants to make us think we can. And so for our frustration, when we've hit those limits, when we've seen, that we cannot flow our energy anymore, it's just blocked for whatever reason. It could be temporary, it could be more long term, it could be that we need to make a decision about how to be different, could be that it's time for us to leave a certain relationship or a job if something is not working for us anymore and it's really intense. Some reflective questions you can ask yourself, you can journal about, you can pray about, is just taking a moment and saying, am I being forceful, or am I simply working at it and I don't have the results I want yet? So for example, if the frustration is, when you're being forceful, you're trying so hard to make it happen, to make it be something, versus I'm frustrated because I don't have what I want yet, but I know I'm doing all I can do, so I'm going to relax and calm down a little bit. Another question, just getting clear about what am I trying to control? Am I trying to control the outcome? Because we can never control an outcome, even if we do everything we can control perfectly. We can have A, B, and C lined up perfectly, and the end result will still possibly not be what we want. So if I'm trying to control it so much, can I actually control it? If you can't actually control it, that's where you have to pull your energy back and be like, okay, what can I actually control in this situation? I can control myself. I can control my reaction to it. I can control the way I think about it. I can control the boundaries I set. I can control how I'm choosing to show up in my own life. Okay, so just getting clear on what am I trying to control, and is this something that I can actually control, or does my ego just say, well, I'm doing ABC, so this person or this thing or this scenario should look like this exact way, even though, again, not true, but the ego wants wants us to believe that that is the truth. And remembering, if we stay frustrated for a really long time, eventually that might turn into resentment. And resentment, I also did a video on resentment, which is linked below. But resentment is basically, resentment means we resent something when we've given something our personal power. So we resent something to the extent that we've given it our personal power, which means that if I give you control over how I'm feeling because you're doing X, Y, or Z instead of A, B, or C thing that I want, then I'm going to resent you because I think you should be acting in this, or this way. So we resent things when we believe that how they are is more important than how we decide what we should think or feel about them. And so when we aren't, frustration is like kind of a step one before resentment. And so if we don't listen to this frustration, if we don't take a break, if we don't pull our energy back to ourselves, we're going to end up being very resentful, very angry, very bitter. That can get very deep-seated, very upsetting. And so just remembering that frustration is there. It's not just to piss you off and make you hate your life. Frustration is there to help guide us onto something that can actually serve us. Frustration is there, again, as a guidance system. All of our emotions are trying to communicate to us all the time. And so if we can be mindful for 1 second and be thoughtful and notice the ways that frustration is actually guiding us and showing us, hey, this isn't working, so how can I be creative about it? Then that's going to serve us way, way more than just being frustrated that we're frustrated and then we don't do anything to try and be different or create some change and space in our life. Okay, so I hope this served you. If you ever want any information about me, about how to work with me one-on-one, or buy my books, all of that is linked below in the description box. And thank you so much for being here. And it's okay if you're frustrated, but just take a breather, ease up on yourself, just relax a little bit. You'll be okay. And thank you again if you made it all the way to the end of the video. And I hope you have a wonderful day.